The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hey everyone, Cam from Odell here. Thanks again for joining us for another episode of Isolation Intelligence. Today we have Carlos Capetillo of LG Canada, and he's going to be going over some LG VRF and how to integrate it with third-party air handlers and third-party DX coils, among other things. So just a few things before we get started. If you have any questions down in the, you can ask them in the questions tab. We're going to try and get to the questions at the end, just to give Carlos time to go over the things that he's prepared. However, if you do have something that's urgent and you'd like to ask it right away, you can raise your hand. That's one of the options, and I'll let him know and I'll cut in and we can ask him the question right away. So without further ado, here's Carlos Capetillo. Go ahead, Carlos.
Yes, I use waiting for my screen to start. Good day, everyone, and welcome to this LG Electronics Canada presentation. My name is Carlos Capetillo, and I'm the Regional Sales Manager for VRF Commercial HVAC, and I just wanted to show a bit myself before starting. I will present this webinar for you, and you can ask questions through the application during the presentation, and I will try to answer them at the end. First of all, I hope that everyone is doing well and staying safe, because as we all know, we are in a very unusual time. Because of this, Odell and Associates and LG Electronics Canada understood that we need to do things a bit different to keep supporting our partners and customers. So we will be having periodically presentations in different topics of VRF and its applications in the coming weeks and months, because I personally believe this will be the new normal for some time. Again, thank you for being with us today. I'm going to talk about today about LG's Air Handler Unit Communication Kit, which is a very important part of our product line and that has a tremendous potential, especially in our market. VRF is, as you probably know, one of the strongest HVAC technologies when talking about power load efficiency, low carbon footprint, overall energy efficiency, and ease of installation. But in the mind of many people, sometimes it looks like an overlarge multi-split with small indoor units here and there. The reality is that VRF is much more than that. And I'm sure that after watching this presentation, you will see that matching our multi-V5 units with third-party, new or existing air handlers, the possibilities grow exponentially. So with this, I will start. The Air Handler Unit Communication Kit is the answer for requirements where standard size or options of the VRF indoor units might not be enough, or where existing or specialized air handler units or DOAs will be needed. The idea of this presentation is to keep them from being too long, so I will touch briefly the most important points about our air handler communication kits, including our existing lineup of LG VRF indoor units and what is the need of this kit, how the air handler unit communication kit work, what types or EEV kits we have, and their two different types of controls, common configurations and applications. As you can see, LG offers a very large offering of indoor units, which go from ducted ones, high and low static, ductless, high wall mounted to floor standing, and other perfect for ceiling applications like cassettes 2x2 and 3x3 feet. We also offer a very good looking unit like the air-cooled gallery and the vertical outflow air handler that can be installed in basements like an electric furnace or in condo applications. One thing that all these units have in common is that most of the sizes are from 5,000 BTUs to 48,000 BTUs in ductless units and up to 96,000 BTUs in high static ducted ones. We also have a special solutions lineup which can take care of most of your necessities like ERVs or energy recovery ventilators, which sizes from 800 to 1180 CFMs, dedicated outside air units with a preheat option or without from 400 to 2000 CFM and up to 1.65 inches of static. And two very important additions, which are the hydro kits in high temp, heat only, and medium temp with cooling and heating. These last two work only with three-phase units and provide, together with indoor units from previous slide, almost everything you could require in a building. But what if you needed something more? What to do if VRF is the perfect solution for your project, but you still need a larger indoor unit, say a 20-ton? And what if you need a DOAS with ERV wheel? Yes, that's an ERV wheel. What about if the customer actually needed some back filters? And what if you wanted to retrofit an existing DX or chill water air handling unit? LG Electronics Canada has the perfect solution in our air handling unit communication kit, which can take advantage of third-party air handlers and even work on retrofit projects with existing air handling units on any type of building. The air handling unit communication kit allows third-party air handling units to integrate with our VRF outdoor units seamlessly, as if they were any other LG indoor unit. They allow those units to connect with our multi-V5 equipment, air-cool, water-cool, and even single-phase by adding a EEV kit or electronic expansion valve, a communication kit, supply or internal control. We will go after that later. And just following up a number of requirements on entering air temperature, CFM, and DX coil selection. You will have diverse options for control depending on the type of control you need, including LGE's wire remote controls, DDC field supply, and LGE centralized controllers. So as I said, the layout is simple. You only need a new or existing air handling unit or DOAS. Verify that the design conditions of enter air temperature, leaving air temperature, and CFM are within the specifications of the product. Select a third-party DX coil based on the selection tables provided by LG, and just add the right combination of VRF equipment, EEV, and communication kits, and as simply as that. Well, the reality is that the controls and selection of the right kits and units is a bit more complicated than this, but LG Electronics Canada and Odell & Associates count with the trained sales and applications engineers who will support you and your customers by selecting the right equipment for your project. Now let's talk about the communication kits. LG Electronics has two types of these. One is called supply air temp control, and the other return air temp control. And to select one, the first thing is to know or to decide what is the use of the air handling unit and what type of temperature it will be controlling or will be controlled by. The rule of thumb is that if the air handling unit will be returning most of the air it supplies, and it will be controlled by an ambient temperature sensor, then you will need the return air version, or PAHCMR000. These units are typically controlled by a thermostat in the condition area. But if the unit were needed to supply outside air and the temperature to control would be the leaving or discharge air temperature after the DX coil, then you will need the supply air temperature controller, or PAHCMS000. These are typically controlled by a sensor downstream the DX coil in the ductwork. There could be a couple of very specific exceptions to this rule, but these are not typical applications. The next step is to understand how to select the right EEV kit that we need. And for that, we need information on the actual load. I need to mention that all the EEV kits can work with either of the communication kits, with the exception of the largest size, the 594, which work only in supply earth applications. The EEV kits include the electronic expansion valve, and these must be installed contiguous to the air handling unit, so they come in an EMA box for outdoor installation. Some customer handlers allow for the kits to be installed inside of them. The models are sizes 048, 096, 396, and 594. The 048 has a minimum capacity of 12,000 BTUs and maximum 96,000. The 96 go from 96 to 192, the 396 from 192 to 396, and the 594 from 396 minimum to 594 maximum. And they have between those ranges different settings so you can select the right size for the right combination, so they can match your application and the connected VRF unit's tonnage. The sizes 048 and 096 can be used in both heat pump and heat recovery applications, and all of them can work on heat pump application. This might sound like we could have a short of capacity in the heat recovery options, but I will show you in upcoming slides why this is not the case. This slide is just to show you clearly the dimensions of the EEV kits, which are basically the size of the box where they are provided for outdoor installations. So we have the same size for the 48 and 96 size. You have a bigger sizer in the 396, and the big one is the 594. Now, these are some configuration examples of systems installed with the return air controller. All the idea of this slide is to show you some ways to connect the systems and how it can be used. In the top left side, you will see a very simple and straightforward design, one-to-one. So you have here one outdoor unit connected directly to one single coil in a typical air handling unit. This is a very common design where the maximum capacity of the system is limited by the maximum capacity available in a single module that in multi-V5 LG air-cooled is 20 ton, which is the best in the market. If you needed to go above 20 ton, you can also have a double module connected to a single coil or EV kit. And in this case, the maximum capacity will be the maximum capacity of that single EV kit. However, if you wanted even more capacity, in the case that you need a coil above the maximum capacity of the EV kits, you could also connect a VRF system into two or multiple coils. See the configuration in the top center. Or you needed even more, you can have two completely independent systems connected to two different coils in the same air handling unit, which we see in the top right. Now, with the return air controller, we have some interesting features not available in the supply air control. We can have additional indoor units connected to the same refrigerant piping system, which could be either LG VRF indoor units like in the bottom left. Can you see there that we have a single condenser that could be multiple connected to the air handling unit in a single coil, and you have a branch that goes to two indoor units. And we can also have connected to another third-party air handling unit, also operating as a return air temperature control. As you can see here, we have two condensers connected to two different coils in a single circuit. So they will be operating like two different units. So a couple notes. Each DX coil requires a pair of communication kits and EV kits. The maximum capacity of the EV kit depends on the size. The PRLK 594 model is only applicable, as I mentioned before, in the supply version, and can be compatible with AC Smart 4, also A Smart 5, which is not here, BACnet, Longworks, etc. These are basic configurations just to give you ideas of possible applications, but again, our sales and application engineers will be glad to assist you and your customers in selecting the right configuration for your project. Now, it's the turn of the supply air control configuration. Just a reminder, the supply air control is typically for DOAs or makeup units. As I mentioned, the three top configurations are similar or basically the same as the previous slide. We have on top left the return control, the supply control 1-to-1 with same limitations on outdoor unit capacity. The one system to two or multiple coils, and also two systems or more to independent coils in the same air handling unit. With the bottom configurations, which allow to connect to other indoor units in the same refrigerant piping, are not allowed for supply air control systems. The reason is a bit technical, but in a nutshell, we cannot target two different discharge temperatures in the same system. When a bit, you want to take a look at this at the screen. Talking about configurations when you have multiple EV kits connected to the same air handling unit. This is an example of how to achieve a very large ton capacity with multiple EV kits and condenser units in supply discharge air temperature control. If you remember, the supply air temperature control is the only one that can use the large EV kit, but it has a limit of a maximum of 4 EV kits that can be connected to a single air handler, which can give you a potential maximum capacity for a DOAS MUA of 594,000 BTUs, multiplied by 4, like in this drawing. In the case of the return supply, there is no limitation on the number of EV kits. So even that we cannot use the 594 size, we can have more than 4 EV kits connected to the same air handler unit, giving us a very large potential of capacity for these units. Other advantage for using VRF for this application is the large piping distances, which allow the outdoor unit to be horizontally piped as far as 656 actual feet away from the air handling unit. This is a great advantage when you want to keep your condensing units far from the conditioned area, or when you are doing a retrofit of an existing DX commercial split and you need to relocate the outdoor unit way further than what the existing condenser unit will allow. But not only horizontal distance is important. We also have the vertical distance of up to 360 feet between the air handling unit and the condenser unit, which is very helpful when you want to retrofit chilled water systems to VRF and putting all condensing units in the roof, for example. The only point to note is that the EV kits and their air temperature controller must be contiguous to the air handling unit for proper operation. One of the tools we use for selecting equipment is our own LATS HVAC software, which is a very easy platform to design any VRF system, including those with EV kits. In this case, we selected the smallest three-phase size, a 6-ton unit, ARUM 072BT5, which is a 2A three-phase unit, and connected it in a heat recovery configuration. You see a line coming out of the other unit, which notes the piping diameter and a random length. You see every length in this drawing has the same 9.8 feet. Coming out that line, we branched the pipe system in two and connected each side of the Y branch into a heat recovery port. One of the boxes is 4-port, the one on top, and the one at the bottom is only 2-port. Use as a note, the size of ports we have for these boxes is 2, 4, 6, and 8 ports. Each of the ports is connected to a single EV kit, and all of them are noted as PRLK048. When we designed this small example, we set the 048 size EV kit as a 12,000 BTUs. So you see the capacities in this example, the 12,000 heating and 11,000 cooling is just exactly what you're looking for. This example could be for a third-party handler that needs cooling, but with the option of simultaneous cooling and heating solar recovery configuration. So when you're working directly with an air handler, if you're only going from one condenser to one indoor unit, whatever the application is, this could be a air handler unit return or supply, you only need a heat pump operation because the unit can only work really in cooling and heating. When you have a configuration like this one, when you can have maybe 6 small different indoor units in a building, heat recovery is the way to go, because in this kind of configuration, you can have some of the units working in cooling and some of the units working in heating. We also have another software called LATS CAD, which is very similar, but instead of using a drawing like the one you see here, you are actually working in a CAD drawing, use pulling and putting the units in the system. And this is an example of a retrofit with great potential. According to University of Michigan, in 2013 in USA, an estimated 72% of the buildings were 20 years old. So retrofit is probably going to be 70% of our business in the coming years, and very specifically the retrofit of water source heat pump systems and the retrofit of existing chilled water buildings, where you could eliminate the use of water inside a building, decrease or eliminate the carbon footprint, and at the same time save space in areas used for mechanical rooms. In the picture of the left, you have a very heavy 20 years old chiller in the roof with a water piping, probably constant volume, running all the time to give service even to one small area of the building. You probably have old piping, old pumps, and very large boilers. These systems were very good and work and give a very good service during the time, but now after 20 years, most efficiency is very low. So one possibility which is more attractive when you already have leaking pipes or the new chillers are heavier. Something that happened with the old chillers is that they were less efficient, so the coils were smaller, everything. Now chillers tends to be heavier, and sometimes you don't want to go through structural engineers or changes. Sometimes also you need to free some space in the basement so you can have more space for parking or maybe sport areas. And now that we are doing more things inside, probably is more needed than ever. So we don't need necessarily to replace the indoor units either. We can use the air handler unit communication kits and replace the water pipes or refrigerant pipes and put all the condensers in the roof up to 360 feet from the indoor units and save also a lot of space and carbon footprint. In the case of the boilers, I've seen some retrofits where the air handler units are old, but you only replace the coils. Sometimes you even leave the hydronic coils if they still work, but you can cut a lot of the capacity of the boilers, and you can liberate all the space in the basement as well. And in this case, in the drawing in the right, you only have some offices working, and because the way the VRF works, you can have a very limited operation of the condensers through the day, through the night. There are infinite applications for the handling communication kits, and I'm going to show you some of the slides that come. These are some examples of applications types. We have in the top left, high filtration, like in large gym areas. This unit could be 100% outside air. In some cases, could be a return. So it depends on the application and what you're doing. And you can add any kind of filter. In the top right, we have restaurants with a similar application that we discussed before. And in the bottom left, we have elementary schools, high schools, and many others. This is an example in a system installed by Odell. In this case, you can see that you have two condensers, in this case are multi-V4, connected to a single piping and going to a single coil. You can see in the drawing the EV key connected and the controls probably inside. So this unit is going to work like a DOAS, taking 100% outside air. The unit probably has a wheel, so it's recovering part of the heat that is exhausted from the area, and you can have a very efficient unit. So this is a very, very small presentation, but we have a lot of time for questions, and just let me show you my contact information. Cam, you want to take control?
Can you hear me?
Oh, no, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. So the viewers were just wondering if it would be possible to get a copy of the slides that we can post on our website there.
Absolutely.
Yep. So you can just send those to me. And then there was another question. Would you be able to touch on B52 with regard to the refrigerant release during these, or in these systems?
In regard to these units, well, these are centralized units, and it's in a way is similar to what you do in any other large unit, like a rooftop or bigger handler. So it will apply exactly the same.
Okay, and that was it. So if there's anything else that any other questions that come up, of course, Carlos's contact information is up on the screen right there, or you can email me or Nathan, and we can forward it on to him. Just a reminder that the video and the document with the slides will be available on our website by tonight, likely. And I just want to thank everybody again for attending another one of our Isolation Intelligence webinars. We have another one coming up on Wednesday. Oh, and there's another question. Oh, sorry. that's not a question. There was one that no, okay. So
Yeah,
thanks again,
the only one
Carlos.
the only one to add is I try to target these presentations to be about half an hour, 40 minutes maximum, and to make it more easy to go through, and leave some time for questions. Please send your feedback. Let us know if this is a good time. You would like to have longer presentations, and we will try to do it as best as we can.
All right, thanks again, everybody. Take care, Carlos.
Thank you. Bye-bye.